see the light at the end of the tunnel because I mean, I had some moments where you reach out to people, they say no, or they ask for money. And it's like, I've interviewed some great people. Like, why are you asking me? But I get it. Like, they don't know who you are, So, but what keeps me going is the people that I do make happy. The feedback that I do get from my following, the feedback I get from interviews that say I made them feel comfortable, or the fact that it makes me happy regardless.
Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show it. Girl, you've got it. Act like you know it. Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show it. Girl, you've got it. Act like you know.
What's going on, sports fans? It's your boy, the Sports Reporter Without Pay. Here we are again in the month of March. Y'all know what time it is. It's Women History Month, and the Sports Reporter Without Pay on this series, Breaking Barriers, Women in Sports, where we honor, show love to, and just pay homage and show respect to women doing phenomenal things in sports. I have with me today the host of Sports Talk with C. Who else would be the Sports Talk with C besides Miss C? How you doing?
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. So, introduce yourself to the people.
Well, I am C from Sports Talk with C. I am from Rhode Island. I am going into my third year of podcasting in August. I am coming up on my 100th episode on Sunday. My platform is where you could be free and be you. I like to hear journeys from basketball players, anyone who plays sports, honestly, or anyone covering sports.
100 episodes. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
So, how did we get here, right? Has it always been sports? Did you grow up playing? Always been a sports junkie? Was this always the dream?
I never played sports a day in my life. I feel like it's too much contact for me, but I've been, my brother played basketball where I'm from, and I was his number one fan. I was either with the cheerleaders or in the bleachers going crazy. But I really didn't get serious about the love of sports until I was in college. I would leave parties, leave chilling time, basketball's on. And mainly when I discovered who LeBron James was. I can say I was in a tough place in my life. And, I seen a clip of LeBron and he on YouTube, and I was like, oh, I got to find out more about who this is. And that's when I knew that I really love basketball, because who sees something and wants to go research more? So I still didn't go to college for that. I was like, no, it's a predominantly man world. I'm not going to do anything with that. So I got my bachelor's, worked for attorneys. COVID came. So the year before COVID, I was like, I want to go. I want my own sports show on ESPN where everyone could come chop it up with me. You could be who you are. No problem. You could swear. You could, if you want to come, tattoos out and some sweatpants, whatever. Just come, and your journey is still important no matter who you are and what you look like. So I finally decided to go back and get my master's in sports management. Then COVID came. And let me tell you, I was like, I need to do something. This is boring. Maybe I'll come up with a hookah thing, because hookah was so big at the time. And then I was like, yeah, no, that's not for me. So then I figured out a podcast. And then at first on my podcast, it was just me giving a rundown of basketball during what happened that week, anything that was for me that I thought was a hot topic to talk about. Then I was like, you know what? Let me start interviewing people and let me hear their journey, since I've never played a sport. So let's hear how some people, get to those moments and get them big moments taken away from them, the struggle, the work, the time, the proudest moment they've had, the toughest moment they had. How did they get through? And just give the opportunity where you could just talk about yourself and it be okay, and no one judge you because you're always talking about, how nice you are, or just about you in general. So then that's what I started doing. And then my team that I am part of, shout out to MTMV, they found me on Twitter and they joined the team. I started being on live because my show was never live. And at first I was nervous. I'm not even going to lie, because I felt weird just sitting at a computer talking. And then I started I was a co-host to another show, Full 94. We're on episode 64 come Monday. And that's mostly about basketball. And then I'm always at basketball games. My cousin played Division One college basketball women's, and Rick asked me, my head honcho, why don't you do a wrap up after the game or try to ask questions? I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be media. That's not what I ever wanted to do. He said, you're always at games. Give it a try. So I was like, all right, let me do this game. I submitted my first credential to Boston College women's game. It was against NC State. I was so nervous. I didn't know what to ask. I'm not an athlete. So when you're asking these questions, you're like, my question don't really matter because I never played. I'm only doing it as a person who loves sports. So I was in the media room. Raised my hand, asked my first question, and I loved it. So I wanted to submit. The WNBA came around. I started submitting for media credentials through the WNBA. I started going. He asked me to write an article, and I was like, nah, I don't really mess with English like that. But he said, just give it a try. So I wrote my first article, and everyone loved it. They said they felt like they were at the game with me. So I started writing articles after the games. Was media to be front and center, see the foul calls, see the moves, see the fight from each team, or when the team gets blown out, what was their weaknesses, and just to look at the game different was a different experience for me. So now when I'm watching the game, how many people is rebounding, how many turnovers, how many assists do they have as a team, who's doing the plus and minus, the little things that no one gets to see, but in media you have to ask those questions. So here we are. I covered Brown last year, the full season, or the season that just ended. And I was able to start doing post-game interviews about their game that day. So now I still want my talk show on ESPN, but I also still want to be a sideline reporter.
So, wow. Your journey is much different than most people. You may be the first, not just during this series, one of the first, because you're media at this point, like whether you like it or not, you're media. Right?
Freelance, yes.
Who got into this space having never played. Like you just developed a genuine love for the game and just dove straight into it. That's a very different journey. So in your short time, I guess I would say in this journey, is there anybody that you look to, I won't say inspiration, but somebody that you look up to that's in this space, be it somebody famous that you've never met and you look at say, hey, I can do that, or even somebody that's been alongside you in this journey?
I would say the first inspiration I could ever think of when doing this is Craig Sager. Rest in peace, Craig. He dressed crazy. He knew the game of basketball, the way he spoke about it, the passion he spoke with it. And I'm a big person for what I look like when I'm doing media. And, he always had his tie and, I have a vest, not a vest, a blazer. And I got that idea from the late Craig Sager. So he is definitely my number one inspiration. And now I like to look at Kenny. I know he doesn't do sideline, but he is a broadcaster. I like Malika. I like Roz Owenwede. I do like Holly Rowe. I love the way Rebecca Lobo talks about the game when she's broadcasting. Andrea Carter, although some people, LaChina Robertson, are some people that I do look at, take notes from, even go on their YouTubes and look at their old stuff and see how they started and where they are now. But Craig is number one.
This gets more interesting by the minute. Like I would have named 20 people, 30 people, 50. I would have never got to Craig Sager. And that's dope because Craig Sager's dope. Like Craig Sager was dope, right?
Yes.
Unique in his own way too, and that's what he was known for. So far in your sports media journey, what would you say has been like your shining moment, the moment where you went, I really belong here? Or when you look back at it, you go, that was the one. Like that was my.
I've had so many moments because sometimes I feel like it moves so fast, and then sometimes I feel like it moves so slow. But I covered my first Big East tournament last year. And, we're not allowed to go like where Holly Rowe goes and, speak to the players like that. We have to do that in the media room. But I had my questions written down. And when Holly Rowe was up there and she literally asked 3 of the questions that I've had, I knew that, yeah, this is for me. And I feel like I bring something different because I want it to be okay that I can go like this with my piercings and my tattoos, and that should not define who I am. So I like to I'm very a people person, so our conversations can range from sports to real life, but that's why I love to do what I do. Because I feel like I bring the best out in people, the shyness that they don't want people to see.
I can see how that can be I guess, defining moment where you go, okay, like you said, you may have that moment where you go, maybe my questions don't matter because I didn't play. And you write them down, and then one of the goats in this is up there asking, like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be here.
Right. I may have not, said it, as proper as she does, but it was the same question.
Yeah, she wanted to know the same stuff you wanted to know.
Yes. So that's when I knew. And from that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put literally everything into Sports Talk with C. And I can tell you the best decision I ever made was betting on myself.
I love it. So obviously, right, if we're talking about the highest moments, there are those low moments, right? Especially when you're starting up and you're doing it on your own, and then you don't have a background in this. And then even in your situation, I didn't play, I didn't go to school for this, and I'm just doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy just to one day up and go, you know what am I thinking? This ain't for me. So in those moments where times aren't as good, where your content may be not getting the publicity or the views you wanted to get, or you can't talk to the people you want to talk to, what keeps you going in those moments?
Whew. I see the light at the end of the tunnel because I had some moments where you reach out to people, they say no, or they ask for money. And it's like, I've interviewed some great people. Like, why are you asking me? But I get it. Like, they don't know who you are, so, but what keeps me going is the people that I do make happy, the feedback that I do get from my following, the feedback I get from interviews that say I made them feel comfortable, or the fact that it makes me happy regardless. If I could get 1 play a week, I'm happy with that because I made a choice to continue on with my podcast. And I do it for me, and anybody out there that looks like me, sounds like me, has the same route as me, that is possible. And don't let anybody tell you different. Because now at the Big East tournament this year, I seen everybody with ones and blazers on, and that definitely was not the case last year.
Look at you out here trailblazing. And it's funny you talking about that, the blazer, and you just mentioned the ones. That makes the picture you sent like it makes a whole lot more sense now, right? Like that's your thing. No, that's your thing. Like that's kind of like wherever I go, I can be in a suit. I'm rocking the fitted. Like that's just what I do, right? It's my thing. So you talked about it earlier. You kind of mentioned when you first thought about going into this space, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things you said, and it's interesting, you see the title, I kind of shot you what it's about, breaking barriers, women in sports. You said, no, that's a male-dominated thing, right? Speak to that aspect of it, right? Like, what is that like being a woman in this industry that, good, bad, or indifferent? The facts are it is a pretty male-dominated industry. Like, speak to those dynamics.
For me, it's double harder for me, I feel like, because I'm not an athlete and I'm a woman. So when you come into these spaces and it's predominantly men, they look at you like you have no clue what you're doing. And I feel like it's a constant approval. Like you have to prove yourself so much. All right, well, she passed phase 1. Let's see if she goes to phase 2. Anybody you can go on and as a fan talk about why you love the game. But basketball is something, mostly basketball. I do want to venture out and learn more, like the ins and outs, like I do basketball, other sports. But I just feel like being in a male dominant situation, it's always something that you have to prove that you know what you're talking about instead of being given the benefit of the doubt that you know what you're talking about. I'm on YouTube. I'm on a live show. I'm not going to put myself out there if I did not know what I was doing, because now you open up the doors for people to criticize you, say these things, because I want the comments on. I want the feedback. I want the criticism. I want people to tell me, well, maybe you should try this. I different ideas. So I want, or whatever you want to say on the comments, but it's just a constant struggle. But I'm gonna be honest, in my journey, once I prove I know what I'm talking about, that's out the window. I'm on a live show with 3 men. So I'm the only, like, so I, that doesn't phase me anymore, but it's the women.
Really?
Yes.
You that's very interesting, right? Because I've heard this before. I've heard that said before, that it's more so, like you
The
said, the
women are
women.
very more, the men are very more welcoming now.
Let me ask you this: I've interviewed, I don't know how many people before you, quite a few, and that might be the first time on this series that's been said. And let me ask you: do you think that's because I would view that as, maybe that's because you're viewed as a threat, or you're viewed as the competition? Because again, in this male-dominated space, maybe you guys' opportunities are more limited. So, do you think that comes from a sense of they view you as the competition?
Yes and no.
Okay, speak on
Okay.
it.
The reason why I say yes is because it is so much limited, and you see how many female reporters are shifted out and shipped left, especially around certain disagreements or arguments or things that come to the light. Um, but like I said, I did my first Big East tournament. I had no clue where I was going, where I was supposed to sit, which direction. Now, there's different ways you can't even enter. And I don't want to do something my first time. I have my name, I have my team's name on there, and I don't want to do something that's going to jeopardize the next person being able to be in this space, or even me being able to come back in this space. And I had asked a female, like, hey, do you know, she had a credential on and it said all access. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. And just kept walking,
How don't you know? Like, yeah.
you know? So it's like, why would you take someone asking you for help? It's always speaking to woman empowerment and doing this and doing that. But from what I've seen, I don't get me wrong, I have the ones that are open arms and give me advice and tell me which way to go and give me emails, so I should reach out to these people and get these different type of connections. Yes, but there are some that doesn't. So I found my way in the Big East tournament to this guy who was also a journalist there. He said, don't worry, I'll show you. So it depends on, if the person, I don't know if she felt threatened. I mean, I always, when females ask me, oh, how did you get in this, how did you, I just give it to them, because one, we're supposed to be helping each other. That's the only way that we can change it to be an equal world with men and women, is if we do it together. But if we keep trying to keep all the goods for one and not help everybody, it's never going to be equal world in sports for men and women.
Okay, so episode 100 just passed. Episode 64 on another show just passed.
Well, episode 100 comes out on Sunday. Hasn't
Okay,
came out yet.
that's right. Coming up Sundays. Again,
Mhm.
congrats on that. That's a huge milestone. Just to have the stick to itiveness, like I said, like it's
There was
really
times I
easy.
wanted to give up. Oh, there was times, especially in the beginning, because when you first start saying you're going to do your podcast, you have so many people. Oh my God, do it! It's going to be so great. You always loved your basketball. See, I'm gonna support you. Week one comes, them same people that said all this are not there. You
They
don't
ain't
get
worth two
support.
cents.
They
They is
don't. You
not
don't.
worth 2 cents.
The
Yeah.
amount of people that I don't know that support me have been a blessing. The people that I do know and that know I have make sure you give me a shout out when you make it. Oh, I don't count numbers and as far as views and listens, but I do remember who supported me from day one.
This wasn't even supposed to go this direction. That's one of the most interesting dynamics in doing this sports journalism stuff. You striving to achieve certain things, and you have milestones that you want to hit. And I have found out that you do garner more support from people that don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
But that support is way more genuine because they're not doing it from a place of obligation. Like they don't know you, they don't owe you anything.
Exactly. They generally want to support you.
Yeah, they supporting you because they rock with what you're doing. Them friends and family, they won't watch it, they won't share your content. Oh Lord, that's a whole nother conversation. So what I was getting at is what's up next on the horizon for Miss C? What's coming up?
Well, I am going to take a break after my 100th episode so I can think about a way to come back and give it a different direction. I definitely want to hear journeys of some football players. I have a love for swimming, so I want to hear some journeys of people that do swimming as their sport. And I definitely want to pick up on writing as I love it. I hate writing. So when I do it, it takes me hours because I don't want to do it. So I want to get to a space where writing an article, I can do that in 2 seconds. It's second nature to me. And I want to start having my show live. But that's a 50-50 thing that I'm going back and forth with myself right now.
Have you tried it?
No, because I don't want to control anything. I feel like the best part of who I am and what this platform stands for is I don't go to any of my interviews with questions. Okay, so when I'm asking you, everything that I want to know is based off on our conversation. I don't ever want to feel like I'm dictating to you. I don't ever want to feel like this is forced and it sounds like a robot. I want it to be a genuine conversation about your journey. So me controlling what comes up next, commercials and doing all that, I feel that takes away from my guests and they don't have my undivided attention.
Well, so I mean, it's because we talked about this right before we came on. I can't say on air, this is a recording, but right before we started recording, I said, hey, look, I'm not going to prep you with questions. You said, I love it. That's the way I want it. Right. I feel, and obviously you do too, it's more authentic. Right. Mm-hmm. If I just throw you the questions and have you, I mean, but you can do that live as well. A lot of times the people you're interviewing, they want to be censored a little bit, but like you can do that. Like, I think you should just give it a shot. You should do an episode, try StreamYard or something like that, and see how it goes. Just see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, so I will give it a try. So that's something I feel like people will see more in the moment instead of seeing it uploaded after and, or listening to it. So that is something that I do want to. I'm thinking about changing the day that my episodes come out. Maybe Sunday is not the best day to bring out a new episode, especially when it's football season. That's definitely not a good time to bring out an episode at 1:00. That's when football actually begins. So those are the little things that I've been looking at and wanting to change. So when I take maybe a month, I usually like to take a month and get right back to it. So I'm back, guys, but I want to come back better, stronger, some more coaches, players, and I definitely want to dive into swimming because I want to cover the Olympics one day.
That's dope. Well, listen, Miss C, it has been a blast. I thank you so much for joining me. I thank you for being a part of this. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Last but not least, before we get out of here, I am going to solo screen you. Tell the people where they can find you. You got 2 different shows, like you said. Episode 100 is coming up, 64 and another one. So talk to the people, social media platforms, whatever. Let them know where they can find you.
Okay. Hey guys, if you want to listen or watch anything that has to do with Sports Talk with C, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as Sports Talk with C. On Mondays, I am part of a live show called Full 94. We are on YouTube on MTMV Sports Network on Mondays at 8:30, and we discuss everything basketball. So if you are a basketball head, Monday's the show to be, and keep up with your girl.
Well, there you have it. Sports Talk with C from Miss C herself. Again, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
To all the fans, this has been another episode of Breaking Barriers with your boy, the sports reporter that will pay. The sports reporter without pay done messed up my own name. We're going to catch y'all on the next one.
See?
Girl, you've got it. Act like you know it. Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show